Hello dear students, welcome to the digital classroom of Krishnajyoti Convent Senior Secondary School Bagpat. I am your teacher Abhishek Mittal and today we are going to discuss chapter first of stories Chief Seattle's speech. Actually it is not a story, it is a real incident which took place in 19th century in America. Okay, so it is a story or it is an incident that reflects the conflict between Native Americans or Red Americans and the white people. Okay, so there is a conflict between the two races, the white races and the black races. So here in this chapter today we are going to study about the famous speech given by the leader of the Squamish tribe, Chief Seattle. Okay, and his speech is world famous. That is why today we are studying his speech in our textbook. Okay, so I am going to teach you from your workbook itself. So if there is anything that you don't understand, please read from your workbook also. Okay, you can consult your workbook as well. So let us read. Chief Seattle begins his speech by saying that nature has sympathized with his people for many centuries. Today it is fair, but tomorrow may not be the same as the great chief in Washington wishes to buy their land. So in the beginning itself, we come to know what actually the setting of the chapter is. Okay, so he says, Chief Seattle says that nature has always been very sympathized with them, but it will not be from now on because the great chief of Washington, okay, so great chief, he is just taunting him by calling him great. The great chief in Washington, the white chief, he wishes to buy their land. The great chief also sends them word of goodwill and friendship, but he is in little need of their friendship as his people are strong and powerful as compared to the natives. So he says that great chief has sent words of friendship. Okay, it is just a general courtesy, but in reality, the great white chief or the chief of Washington does not need their friendship because they are already very powerful as compared to the red Indians or the natives or the people of Squamish tribe, of whom Chief Seattle is also a member. Okay, and as we have studied or as we know that a powerful man and a weak person cannot be friends. Okay, it is said, it is just a saying. Okay, it is a very common saying that powerful and weak cannot be friends. Chief Seattle says there was a time when his people were large in number, but now they are nothing more than a mournful memory. He will not mourn over their untimely decay. Youth is impulsive and young men often indulge in revengeful acts considering them to be gainful. So he says there was a time when they were having huge population. Okay, they were huge in number, but now they have been reduced merely to memories. It means now they are only handful. Okay, and it is all because of the impulsive or the ferocious nature of the youth, because youth want to fight. Okay, they want to fight for their right even though they knew that they cannot win, still they want to fight, and because of that their population or their counting is decreasing. In times of war they even lose their own lives, but the family that awaits for them at home bears the loss. So in time of war these youth, they lost their life and the biggest suffering is for their families. Okay, that is a unbearable loss for them. So the natives and the white settlers should never turn hostile to each other. So that is why this Chief Seattle says that these Native Americans and white settlers or white Americans should not turn enemies. Okay, they should not turn hostile to each other because nobody is going to get benefit out of it. Okay, so next page. Chief Seattle then refers to George Washington as their good father, who promises the natives that if they do as he desires, he will protect them. So Chief Seattle says he refers to George Washington as his good father. Okay, because why he called him father? Because just like a father, he has promised Chief Seattle to protect them from their ancient enemies. Okay, these tribal people, they too have enemies. So he says that he is ready to protect them, okay, from their natural enemies. Seattle says that the white people's brave men will provide them strength and will protect them from ancient enemies. Natives' god is different from the colonizers' god. The god of the whites protects only the pale-faced children and forsakes the red Indian children. Another taunt that Chief Seattle's just blame these white people about is that their god, okay, they say that their god is one, but actually god is not one, because these god, the god of the whites, only protect their pale face or the white children, okay, and they have forsaken the red Indian children. It means god is only merciful to these white people and not to the black people. The god of the natives, the great spirit, has also forsaken them. If they have a common god, then he is partial to his European children. So he says even our own god has forsaken us. Understood? Because of which now they are at a stage which where they are about to get extinguished. Okay, because their number is decreasing and there is nobody to protect them. They are two distinct races having separate origins and separate destinies. There is a great difference between them. So he very bluntly, very clearly he says that these two races are different. Okay, they have different origins and different destinies, and they cannot be same. They can never be same. They have very much so many differences between them. He extols that there is a sacredness associated not only with the ashes of their ancestors but also with the land which is their resting place. But the whites wander far away from their ancestors' grave. So here Chief Seattle is describing another difference between the whites and the blacks or the natives. Okay, what is the difference? That these people, these white peoples, they wander away from their ancestors' grave, but these red Indians, they live near the graves of their ancestors. Yeah, it means they value the nature and they value the landscapes. Okay, may it be mountains, may it be plains, may it be forest, may it be rivers, they value everything, but white do not. Okay, white only know to capture. Even you might have studied in history also, England, okay, people in England, they have made colonies all over the world. India was also one of their colonies. Okay, so he says that they leave their own homes, they leave their ancestors and they go and settle in other places. The natives have close association with their dreams of their men. The ancestors of the Europeans after their death ceased to love them, but the Native Americans never forget the world that gave their being and identity. So another difference he highlights is that the ancestors of the Europeans, it means white people, after their death, they cease to love them. They stop to love them. But red Indians, they believe that the ancestors, even after their death, they love them and care and protect them. Okay, it is their belief because they think that it is because of this world that they got their identity. They keep on loving its valleys, its rivers, its magnificent mountains and its lakes. Okay, so once again he just showed his respect and love for the nature. Not a single star of hope hovers about the natives' horizon. The winds moan and grim fate follows them. Their situation is similar to a wounded doe that is being hunted down. So in this particular paragraph, Chief Seattle seems to be very hopeless. Okay, the future seems to be very dull and bleak. There is no hope in the future. So he has compared his situation, current situation, to a wounded doe that is being hunted down. Okay, so that wounded doe, he can run, but he will not survive for long. Same is with these native people. They can run, but they will not be able to survive for long. In a few more years, their race will disappear. White settlers too will have their decay, which though distant awaits them. So he says, in few more years, these native people, they might extinguish, okay, or they might disappear from their lands. And he also says that white settlers, even though it will take little more time, but they too will disappear someday. Okay, they will go to the same place where these native people will go. However, sharing the common destiny will help both the races. So, but he says, if we work together, okay, if white people and black people, if they start working together, they can help each other. Okay, they can survive on this land, in this world. Seattle says that they will accept the governor's proposal for surrendering their lands only on one condition, that they will never be denied the privilege of visiting the tombs of their ancestors. So, Chief Seattle is ready to compromise, but only on one condition, that they should never be denied to go to their to the grave of their ancestors, because they value their ancestors so much. Even in our Hindu religion, we value our ancestors so much. Even after their death, we do so many rites and rituals year after year. Okay, this shows that we value them and we respect them, and we believe that they are still with us. Okay, the same way is with these red Indians also. The land is sacred and pure. Every hill, every valley, every plain, and even the rocks which seem to be lifeless are holy. So again, he has shown his love for the environment. They consider all the landscape, all the natural things as holy. Understood? Chief Seattle ends his speech by saying that white men will never be alone. When even the last native would have perished, these shores will swarm with the invisible dead of his tribe. So he says, even though red Indians might extinguish or they may disappear from this land, but white people will not be alone, because these native people will be there. Okay, with them, they will live with them in the forms of spirit. Okay, in the form of invisible dead. They will never leave that place because they have born and they have died in that place. He requests white men to deal kindly with his people, as the dead are not powerless. So he actually is giving a warning to the white people. He is saying that these white people should deal very kindly to the Native Americans, because dead are not powerless. Okay, mortal man is mortal, so mortal man can be powerless, but dead are not. Okay, it means he is giving a kind of warning to them. Seattle by the end states that there is no death but only a change of world. So these red Indians, they might also believe in reincarnation. Okay, so they believe that dead is not the end of everything. Okay, it is just the change of world. Now they are living in the mortal world. After dying, they will go in the world of spirits. Okay, it is just the change of world. So this was the very famous speech given by Chief Seattle in the 19th century, around 1854. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can ask in the live class. Thank you and have a nice day.